Hello, how you doing? I'm gonna talk to you about multiple wives. Now, there is. I thought everybody understood it. Obviously, there's not a lot of people who understood. I thought all preachers understood. Obviously, they're not. But there's this preacher on YouTube that has multiple wives, and this is in this dispensation, this New Testament dispensation. He has multiple wives, and he uses scripture to justify him having multiple wives. Now, in the Old Testament, God did allow men to have multiple wives. I mean, a lot of men had it. I think Samuel, King David, Solomon, so on. And I think the reason why he had men have multiple wives is because back then in the Old Testament, women had no economic power whatsoever. And probably women outnumbered men. So he allowed men to have multiple wives as a covering for the women so there would not be massive prostitution in Israel. Because you know how we women are. We do not starve for anybody. If we're starving and our children are starving, we the way we thinking is, look, I know something I can sell. And we're not going to starve for anybody. And the Lord knows that. He knows that it's our mentality. We're not going to starve for anybody. So I think definitely in the Old Testament, he allowed multiple wives, not so men can have super lust and all that. But as a covering, God thinks of a husband. First, a husband is something that you do. It's not necessarily, it is a noun, but it's also a verb. It's something that you do. To be a husband, okay? And also, the way the Lord thinks about a husband is as a covering for the wife, a protector covering. So I think the reason why the Lord allowed multiple wives in the Old Testament, not for men to have lust gone wild, but as a covering for the women so that there would not be massive prostitution in Israel. Because women probably outnumbered men. And so if you allow these uncovered women to marry one man, they'll have a covering and they can stay at that man's compound or whatever. I mean, Obadiah had scores and scores of, Obadiah the prophet had a sheep herder. He had scores of children. So you know he had scores of multiple wives. So I think that's why because he did not want massive prostitution in Israel, he allowed men to have multiple wives as a covering for the women, because women had no economic power whatsoever. Now, the one thing Jesus changed in the New Testament, he said one man and one wife. He said you already have the law. In other words, you don't need me to reiterate the law. He said you already have the law. So I don't need to reiterate it. You already know thou should not steal, the 10 Commandments. Okay, he said one man and one wife. Now, I read that myself. Now, I used to have a Bible that was it was old English, and so it had those words, one man, one wife. But the Bible I read now is kind of modern, so it's not in there, one man, one wife. But he was having a discussion with the Pharisees about this, and one man, one wife. And he said one man, one wife. That's the one correction he made. Fornication, God hates fornication and adultery. He said you leave your father and mother and cleave to your wife. He didn't say you cleave to 4 wives. He said you cleave to your wife. He equates that with evil thoughts in Matthew 15:19, Matthew 19, Mark 7:22, Mark chapter 10, 6-12, and Mark 10-19. He equates adultery and fornication with evil thoughts. He said those defile a man. All those evil thoughts about adultery, it defiles a man. So this preacher who has multiple wives, 3 or 4 wives, that's his own lust. He just want to have multiple wives. You know, he just want to have many women, girlfriends. He don't care how he hurts the feelings of his first wife. He don't care about that. He wants his 2 or 3 wives, 3 wives. So now he has a total of 4. Maybe he has a total of 3 or 4. I don't know. But he just want to get licked and laid 3 or 4 times a week. That's really what that's all about. You know, that's all he want. He was want to get licked and laid 3 or 4 times a week. That's why he has multiple wives. That's why he has many women. He probably has more mistresses that we don't know about. It's probably why he has children all over the place. He just want to have an affair. He's using the Bible as an excuse to really just have an affair. Okay, but when he comes before the judgment seat of Christ, God's going to accuse him of adultery and fornication. Bye.